You guys, can we talk about what happened after the lights came up? Because somehow, without making a grand speech, without trying to steal the spotlight, Jimin walked away from MetLife Stadium with something even bigger than applause. He walked away with America's heart. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. And that's exactly why nobody could stop talking about it. Just hours after BTS wrapped up their incredible first night at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey, social media wasn't only exploding with videos of the performances. It wasn't just the choreography, the vocals, or the breathtaking stage production filling everyone's timeline. Something else quietly took over. Something much smaller. But somehow, much more powerful. Honestly, did you notice it too? Because sometimes the moments that stay with us forever aren't the ones planned months in advance. They're the ones nobody expected. The stadium had already witnessed nearly 3 hours of unforgettable music. More than 70,000 ARMY had laughed, cried, screamed, and sung until their voices disappeared into the New Jersey night. Purple lightsticks stretched endlessly across the stadium like a galaxy that had somehow fallen onto Earth. Every song felt bigger than the last. Every stage somehow managed to top the previous one. The energy never stopped rising. Yet when everything was over, when people thought the night had finally reached its emotional peak, something changed. Not with fireworks. Not with another encore. With silence. Well, almost silence. You know that feeling after an unforgettable concert? The music stops. People begin collecting their banners. Some are hugging complete strangers. Others are wiping tears while smiling at the same time. Nobody really wants to leave. Everyone keeps looking back toward the stage. Just one more time. Just hoping maybe someone will appear again. That was the atmosphere surrounding MetLife. The excitement hadn't disappeared. It had simply become softer. Warmer. More personal. And right in the middle of that feeling, there was Jimin. Can we seriously talk about how he does this? How does someone who's standing in one of the biggest stadiums in America somehow make every single person feel like they're the only one he's looking at? It's almost impossible to explain. Because it isn't something you measure. It's something you feel. Throughout the entire concert, Jimin never acted like someone trying to prove he was a superstar. He didn't need to. His confidence never came from demanding attention. It came from the opposite. From the quiet way he carried himself. From the gentle smiles that appeared naturally instead of perfectly timed. From the tiny nods toward fans holding handmade signs. From those little pauses where he simply looked around the stadium. As if he wanted to memorize every face. Every light. Every voice calling his name. You guys. That matters. Especially in America. American audiences have seen some of the biggest entertainers in history perform inside stadiums just like this. They're used to spectacular entrances. Huge personalities. Massive egos. But Jimin never competed with any of that. He offered something completely different. Presence. Authenticity. Kindness. And somehow, that became unforgettable. The cameras caught him smiling. Fans caught him waving. Others noticed him taking just a little more time before leaving the stage. Nothing extraordinary on paper. But in real life, it felt enormous. Because everyone understood exactly what that moment meant. He wasn't rushing away from the crowd. He was appreciating it. Almost like he didn't want the night to end either. And honestly, didn't that make your heart hurt just a little? Because you could see it in his eyes. The happiness. The gratitude. The disbelief. Even after all these years. Even after performing around the world. He still looked like someone amazed that people had shown up for him. That's rare. Really rare. Especially for someone at Jimin's level. Then something incredible started happening online. At first, it was just a few posts. Then hundreds. Then thousands. People weren't only talking about his performance anymore. They were talking about who he is. Comments began appearing from people attending their very first BTS concert. Some admitted they didn't know much about Jimin before that night. Others came because their friends invited them. Some weren't even ARMY. But by the time they walked out of MetLife, they couldn't stop mentioning him. Not because he demanded their attention. Because he earned it. And isn't that the biggest difference? There's something unbelievably powerful about someone who doesn't chase admiration, yet receives it anyway. That's exactly what happened. Video after video started spreading. Close-up clips. Tiny interactions. Gentle smiles. Those familiar little expressions only Jimin makes. People kept replaying them. Again. And again. And again. Not because they were flashy. Because they felt real. Can we talk about how difficult that is in today's world? Everything moves so fast. Everyone is trying harder. Louder. Bigger. More shocking. Yet Jimin reminded everyone that sometimes the quietest moments become the loudest memories. And just when everyone thought the conversation couldn't grow any bigger, another wave arrived. Fans who had been inside MetLife started sharing their personal experiences. Not polished edits. Not professional recordings. Just simple phone videos. Simple stories. Simple emotions. One person wrote that seeing Jimin smile in person felt strangely comforting. Another said they couldn't explain why they cried during the final moments. Someone else admitted they entered the stadium as a casual listener and walked out searching for every Jimin interview they could find. How does that happen? Seriously? How? Maybe it's because authenticity doesn't need translation. You don't need to speak Korean. You don't even need to understand every lyric. Some emotions speak for themselves. A genuine smile. A thankful glance. A respectful bow. The way someone treats the people supporting them. Those things are universal. And America noticed. Not because anyone told them to. Not because there was some marketing campaign. Not because of headlines. Because thousands of people experienced it together. In real time. Inside one stadium. On one unforgettable night. That's something you can't manufacture. You can rehearse choreography. You can perfect vocals. You can design the biggest stage imaginable. But you cannot fake sincerity. Not for 3 hours. Not in front of 70,000 people. Eventually, people always notice the difference. That's why this moment feels so meaningful. It wasn't just another successful concert. It became a reminder of why so many people connect with Jimin beyond music. Not because he's perfect. Not because he's trying to become everyone's favorite. Because he continues showing up as himself. Soft when the world expects loud. Gentle when people expect grand gestures. Calm in the middle of overwhelming excitement. And maybe, just maybe, that's exactly why so many Americans walked out of MetLife saying the same thing. I didn't expect Jimin to leave such a strong impression on me. Not because he tried. Because he didn't. Because sometimes, the people who shine the brightest are the ones who never have to ask anyone to look at them. And honestly, just when you think that quiet moment was the emotional peak of the night, another beautiful chapter was already beginning. Because what happened after everyone left the stadium somehow made that quiet moment feel even bigger. You know how it usually goes after a massive concert. People rush to the parking lots. The trains fill up. Fans are exhausted, their voices are gone, and everyone starts scrolling through the videos they just recorded, trying to relive the night before they even get home. That's exactly what was happening around MetLife Stadium. Except, Nobody could stop talking about one person. And it wasn't because of one spectacular high note. It wasn't because of one impossible dance move. It wasn't even because of the biggest stage effect of the night. It was Jimin. Again. And honestly, can we talk about how unusual that is? Because think about it. BTS had just delivered an incredible stadium show filled with unforgettable performances. There were countless moments people could have focused on. Yet thousands of conversations somehow kept returning to Jimin. Not because he demanded attention, but because people couldn't stop thinking about the feeling he left behind. That's the difference. People can remember a performance, but it's much harder to remember how someone made you feel. Jimin somehow does both. As more videos began appearing online, something fascinating became impossible to ignore. Fans weren't just posting performance clips anymore. They were zooming in on the smallest details. His smile between songs. The way he looked around the stadium before speaking. How he seemed to take an extra second to wave towards sections that were farther away. Tiny moments. Almost invisible if you weren't paying attention. Yet once people noticed them, they couldn't unsee them. One clip would end. Another angle would appear. Then another. Then another. And every new upload seemed to reveal something fans had missed inside the stadium. You guys. That's what made the night feel endless. The concert was over. But emotionally, it wasn't over at all. Every refresh brought another memory. Every fan had captured a different piece of the same story. One person filmed from the floor. Another from the upper level. Someone behind the stage caught an angle no one else had. Each video felt like another puzzle piece. Slowly, the entire night started coming together again. Except this time, through thousands of different eyes. And somehow, Jimin was at the center of so many of those memories. Why? Maybe because sincerity is impossible to edit. It shows up naturally. It slips into moments nobody plans. That's why people kept replaying those clips. Not searching for perfection. Searching for emotion. There was one feeling almost every fan seemed to describe. Comfort. Not excitement. Not shock. Comfort. How incredible is that? Inside a stadium filled with tens of thousands of people, one performer somehow made complete strangers feel seen. That's incredibly rare. You can't teach that. You can't choreograph it. It either exists, or it doesn't. And Jimin has carried that quality for years. That's why his connection with ARMY feels different. It never feels forced. It never feels rehearsed. Even from hundreds of feet away, people somehow feel close to him. It's honestly amazing. Then something even more beautiful started happening. Fans who attended with their families began sharing their experiences. Parents who had never listened to BTS before admitted they finally understood why their children admired Jimin so much. Some talked about his kindness. Others mentioned his gentle expressions. Many simply said, "He feels genuine." Think about that for a second. Those reactions weren't coming only from longtime ARMY. They were coming from first-time concert-goers. People who walked into MetLife with no expectations. People who weren't planning on choosing a favorite member. Yet by the end of the night, Jimin had quietly left an unforgettable impression. And maybe that's why this moment resonated so deeply across America. Because authenticity speaks louder than language. It doesn't matter where you're from. You recognize sincerity when you see it. You recognize gratitude. You recognize humility. Those things don't need subtitles. They don't need translation. They simply reach people. That's exactly what happened inside MetLife Stadium. One night. One crowd. Thousands of different backgrounds. Thousands of different stories. Yet somehow, Everyone seemed to walk away carrying the same warm feeling. As the hours passed, fan edits became more emotional. Instead of fast-paced highlights, people began creating slower videos. Gentle piano music. Purple lights filling the screen. Close-ups of Jimin smiling softly. Fans hugging one another. Lightsticks swaying together like stars. Watching those edits almost felt like stepping back into the stadium. You could almost hear the cheers again. You could almost feel the vibration beneath your feet. The cool evening air. The anticipation before each song. The overwhelming roar every time the members appeared. It all came rushing back. And right in the middle of those memories, there was that familiar smile. Warm. Calm. Completely effortless. The kind of smile that doesn't ask for attention, yet somehow becomes the memory everyone carries home. And just when it seemed impossible for that night to become even more meaningful, fans began wondering something else. If this was only the first night in New Jersey, what would happen when BTS returned to the very same stage for night 2? Would the atmosphere somehow become even louder? Would ARMY sing even harder? Would Jimin once again create another unforgettable moment without even trying? Nobody knew. But one thing had already become clear. MetLife Stadium wasn't simply hosting another concert. It was witnessing the kind of connection between an artist and an audience that people remember for years. And with thousands of fans already counting the hours until the next show, the excitement wasn't fading. It was only growing stronger.